The relationship with the fans, we had an owner who had a reputation for being cheap. Public relations wasn't his forte.
We'll bring up a fourth down situation, and here comes Neil O'Donoghue. At the moment, he's not the most popular player in St. Louis because he's had some trouble.
This is the story of Corny, the last Irishman in the NFL.
30-yard attempt for Neil O'Donoghue to tie it up at 17.
Episode 4, fourth quarter, the future.
The management of the team didn't have a good relationship with the fans, but the fans loved the players.
Didn't know whether I wanted to continue because I'd gone to the pressure at Buffalo and Tampa Bay. So I decided, I'd give it a shot.
O'Donoghue is now much more popular in St. Louis because he just tied the game at 17 with 7:22 left to play in the third quarter.
It worked out. One of the fortunate things up there, I was with Coach Jim Hannafin, who was one of the first head coaches that I ran into that, really looked out for place kickers. So he didn't put the pressure on you. He said, you know what you have to do.
O'Donoghue will try and win it for the Cardinals.
You're going to make them, you're going to miss a few, but you just hang in there with you're my guy.
It is up, it is long enough, it is good!
He stuck by me.
And he was correct. In 1984, Neil won 3 or 4 games on last-second kicks.
We can live with misses. Kickers will talk about this. We can live with misses.
This is Tig Leader, founder of Leader Kicking.
You're not going to hit all of them. Not everyone hits all of them. I guess it's part and parcel of the life of a kicker, especially over many years, that this happens. And again, it's just about mentally trusting yourself and not trying to change a huge amount of things. That when you do get the next opportunity, obviously in a game winner, you're not going to get another shot. But when you get the next shot on a Tuesday morning with the team or this next Sunday, you keep that sense of trust in who you are, why you're there, and remembering why you're there, because you're elite. You're brought in because you're world class at this skill, and leaning on that and then leading on your process. So that's, I think, what the best kickers do. And your family needs to get on you pretty quickly just to make sure you're okay. I mean, I think it's reasonable to expect your teammates to do the exact same, but unfortunately that doesn't always happen. For everything you do, it's key that you have the right people around you to get you through those moments, especially on the back of a missed kick. But obviously Neil was able to deal with it and to find a way to keep moving forward.
I felt like I was in a good place at that time. If I could get, my goal was maybe get 5, 6, 7 years out of it. That was what I wanted. And ultimately, I think when you put your mind to a target, sometimes you get to it and then you kind of say, okay, what do I do now? That goes back to Ireland, growing up. My mother always said, you never give up. You always go for a little bit more, go beyond what you think you can do. If you go to buy a house, buy a more expensive one, it'll make you stretch, make you work for it. The old Irish way. You never lose that, That's the way I felt like. If I get 1 year, maybe I can get 2, 3, 4. Every year I was getting more in my pension. You don't think of it at the time, but that's the way I approached it. Okay, maybe if I can get 10 years in, I can, have a hell of a pension, So that was part of it, my thinking.
This is Bob Underwood.
He had a very good season in 1984. It came down to the last game of the year in Washington, and if the Cardinals won, they would have won the division. They would have made the playoffs.
The task at hand for the St. Louis Cardinals as they entered Washington's RFK Stadium was simple in its implication, yet difficult in its execution. Defeat the Redskins on their home field and thus win the NFC Eastern Division Championship. History was not on the Cardinals' side. They had won in Washington only once in their last 9 games at RFK, so they could be excused for feeling that there were Redskins everywhere.
Jeff Reinbold.
That day, he kicks 4.
Cardinals have a chance to take the lead. There is still a lot of time left, however. 6 minutes, 15 seconds. O'Donoghue to try to break the tie.
Puts his team in a position to have an opportunity to keep it close and go on and win the game in the fourth quarter.
The Cardinals, for the first time today, have taken the lead. Boy, they have really hung in there. Cardinals ahead by 1, 6:15 left to play.
And then Mark Mosley hits 1.
37 yards out is Mosley. He's been good from that distance and from 21 already. Good snap. It's good. Mosley hits it.
When you remember his NFL career, most people will remember him for kicks that he missed as opposed to the hundreds and hundreds of kicks that he made.
And now the pressure on the kicker moves to the other side of the field. Now it goes to O'Donoghue. This crowd, everybody on their feet screaming. O'Donoghue. He looked like he's exercising, but I think he's praying. They need approximately 23 more yards to get in O'Donoghue's range.
You know, what's interesting is a lot of kicks, you know, when the kicker comes in to make the kick, the clock isn't running. And sometimes the other team will call a timeout just before the kicker kicks the ball, just to ice him, you know, and make the kicker just stand around and think about that kick. You know, they played mind games. This kick in 1984, it really wasn't that way. It happened so fast.
Neil O'Donoghue, on whose shoulders it looks like the pressure will ultimately fall, is from Ireland. He went to school at Auburn. He's been in the NFL 8 years. He came up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If the Cardinals had to try the field goal from here, it would be from 55 yards out. They'd certainly like to have O'Donoghue a little bit closer.
I felt like I was ready to kick it. You know, we're running out of time. The clock was running. We're out of timeouts.
The offense had to run off the field. Neil and the kicking team runs on the field. They're trying to set up, line up, all in 30 seconds, you know, with the clock running.
They're going to have to hurry. Rich Billot tracking down. 13 seconds on the clock.
So you can't stop the clock. You're running on there. Everything was such fast pace, you know. You didn't have a usual time to think about it, to do it.
They're going to have to hurry. 8 seconds. They have too many men on the field. 6 seconds.
To get from the sideline to set up the field goal, have everybody, ready to go. For the 5 yards that we got out of it, it wasn't worth it, you know.
They got him off. He got it off. It's no good.
They snapped the ball maybe 1 second to go in the game, and Neil missed it wide. He really had no time to think before he made that kick.
In the locker room, I think I was respected. Of course, I felt bad, you know, but we felt like we had a good year. Looking forward to the following year. Time to go home and just move on, you know. Yeah, the misses hurt, but that's part of the game. You know, you take the good with the bad, and then how you come back after those misses. You know, if you come back, great. If you don't, if you let it affect you, you're not going to be around too long.
One thing about Neil is he always had a great attitude. He faced the media after every game. You see a lot of players like that. If they have a bad game, the coach protects them, or the player will leave and they don't face the media. Neil faced the media every time, and you got to give him credit for that. You know, I was in high school back then in 1984, and I remember watching it on TV, and a lot of the fans are my age, a little bit older or younger. I wish they knew that about Neil, because I don't think many do. I think they just remember his missed kicks, unfortunately.
But I knew after my last year, I think that was in 85, I was done, you know, because my back was just gave up on me. A lot of our games were in the cold weather, so it was tough. So I went to the gym. I said, hey, man, I can't do this anymore. You know, it's time.
He'd be getting a lot of injuries. I remember saying, Mum, who, you know, with her nursing background, trying to diagnose over the phone and go to CX or go to a chiropractor. And I think he knew it was time. So I think it was good for both sides. And I think he was able to work away, say, yeah, got 11 years. You know, I've done well, made a few quid, and I've enjoyed it. It's been a buzz. It's been a great ride. And I think he could walk away without feeling. The rest of us were massively disappointed, thinking for him, but I think he carried it a lot better. I think it didn't sit that uncomfortably with him. I think just the grind of rocking in and rocking out. And I think actually up in as far as I recall, when he went up to St. Louis, I don't think he ever bought a house there, and he was basically renting a place or staying in hotels. So I think being away from the family didn't help. Occasionally his wife would come up. So I think it was difficult, but I think he was happy to go on to the next stage, whatever the next stage was. I don't think there was any great plan what that might look like.
After that, the owner wanted a new stadium. The team went on strike in 1987. The players did. The team wasn't very good in 1985 and 86, and the relationship just deteriorated, and the team eventually moved to Arizona in 1988.
When I was in with the Bucks, I had bought a home down there, close to Clearwater Beach. In the off season, I'd go back, and then I'd do my workouts there, which is more compatible weather-wise. It's, a lot better down there. But it was a different time because, okay, what do you do now? You got a little bit of money in the bank, but you gotta do something, It's funny. It's actually when I left St. Louis, about a year after that, they had a USFL. I don't even recall. Do you recall the USFL? Startup League. And there was a team in Tampa, and they wanted me to play there. It was kind of like, they're paying decent money, but they asked me to play, and I don't know. They convinced me to do it, and I said, okay, I'll try it, And it was funny. The day I signed, the league folded. It was kind of like, but it would have been good because they didn't want me to come to. They didn't have to go to practice. I could do my 2 days a week there, playing the game, and that would have been a nice gig, But the very day, it was when the USFL folded. I don't know. It's probably 80. I don't know what year it would have been, 86, 87 or something. But. I probably would have had a hard time getting back with my back in that, but it was enticing because it was kind of, for me, it was kind of a semi job. I could go there 2 days a week, kicking the games and, pay me halfway decent. So my main thing, I could have got into teaching, but, the money wasn't there to what I needed to do. So I sold cars. It wasn't a really good sell, but you learn how to do it. When you're depending on making a living, you do what you have to do. But I got good at it, and I got a good following. And the fact that I played ball, in Tampa Bay, and they knew the name recognitions was good. So I worked in the same place probably about, 25 years. And it was a good life, put a lot of time in there. Worked the dealership around the corner where I lived, where the kids went to high school. So I could follow them, into their sports, their soccer, their swimming, whatever it was. I could be there, I could take off. So I was pretty much my own man when I was selling, but, you got to be there to sell. It was a transition, but you make it. You have to. I don't have regrets. Obviously I wish I'd kicked the ones that I missed, and I think I gave it my all as far as working hard. I mean, I took it as a professional. That's the way I approached it. Worked at the mental side of the game as was the physical side, and I thought I had a good career considering where I came from. Would I go back and be a better kicker now? Yes, but that's things you learn. It was just a different game back then.
This is the exciting bit. We were entering a period of uncharted territory for Irish in the sport of American football, specifically through the skill of kicking and punting.
The reason that we're doing this one-off special podcast, special video as well, hi to everyone watching, is because that Dan Whelan, who actually came in and went up against O'Donnell for the job when O'Donnell was released yesterday, we would expect now that Whelan will make his debut in a regular season game for the Packers against the Bears next Sunday. In doing so, becoming the first active Irish-born NFL player in 38 years next week.
Other sports news tonight, I would be remiss if I did not mention star kicker and punter Daniel Whelan, who graduated right here at Rancho Mirage High, has officially signed with the Green Bay Packers. He made the announcement today on Instagram. Whelan made his pro football debut as a DC defender in the XFL back in February and ended the year being named the All-XFL punter, averaging 45.6 yards. Now he's on football's biggest stage, so congrats to Daniel Whelan.
the reason why it's happening now is just because a pathway is here. It exists on our island, it exists in the country. In the past, we look at Neil, he obviously had to move to America. It's class to see Dan Whelan playing, but he moved to America when he was quite young, whereas now we're seeing Irish guys who are identified in Ireland, they are trained in Ireland, and then from there they can go to the US when they're ready and they're prepared. That's never been an option before. So I think that's why we're seeing such a enhanced interest in the sport, is because it's happening on our shores, which is, again, that's been the point of difference. So we're not going to have to wait as long again to see another Irishman. We have Dan with the Packers at the minute, Dan Whelan, but I'm really excited about seeing one of this current crop who are now playing college football, who are, as I said, Irish born lads, raised in Ireland, and they're trained in Ireland by an Irishman or by Irish people. I think that's what's really unique, and that's why, again, people are really engaging with the sport. Non-traditional fans of the sport, but they're engaging because they see that, wow, this is realistic and there's a pathway and it's attainable, whereas that wasn't the case prior. And I mean, if it was, I would have loved to jump on it myself, but look, that's we live and we learn, and thankfully it now exists. So has there been huge kind of significant changes in like the technical side of the kicking and stuff like that? No, not really.
When I was playing, the balls that we kicked were brand new footballs. They'd come in, the referees come in before the game, they'd mark the ball, kicker, there's a brand new ball. Now these kickers have their own ball. They got the same old ball. They go probably sleep at the goddamn thing, I mean, that's how they're hitting these 70-yard field goals, and that's not, you give them a brand new ball to kick, it's a totally different situation. You'd never have that back in the day. Because it was, you tell anybody, I try kick a new football and kick an old football, which is go further, so what you're dealing with. So that part of it's changed. I mean, they're not any better. They're just, they've got better techniques as far as training and that. But when I was coming up, there wasn't really a guy that could teach you how to kick. I was kicking my soccer style like it's playing a soccer game, Now they're so highly technical, because I wasn't around when I was there, But they're good kickers now, but they're no better than we were,
I truly believe is why we're seeing this growth is just because the opportunity exists here. Someone's opened the door. A lot of people are doing a lot of good work to try and create pathways, and thankfully through leader kicking, at least, we've illustrated we can take a person that's never kicked in American football and get them a full Division 1 scholarship inside a year. Now, I truly believe hundreds of more Irishmen can walk this path. Like, that's a big statement, but that's how ambitious I am, because it can be done here. We're doing trainings in Dublin, we're Galway, Cork, we're everywhere. It's accessible, and I think that's probably the biggest difference, because we've always been extremely talented kickers of a ball here in Ireland. It's just the American football hasn't really put in front of us to kick. Or even if it was for the crack, there was never really someone that could say, hey, that's actually really good. These are the next steps you need to take to actually getting a scholarship, which is worth a few $100,000. And if you perform there, maybe you do go into the pro ranks, maybe you get a shot at the NFL. So I think that's just the difference why we're seeing such an enhanced interest. It's because the opportunity exists here. And, Dan Whelan's there at the minute now with the Packers. There is now a pathway. And that's what makes all the difference. So, really exciting times, and a young fella growing up in rural Ireland kicking a Gaelic football, that skill could have him under the bright lights playing big time college football in America, maybe even go to the NFL. So mad to think it's here. It's a life-changing opportunity as a student, academically, but also athletically, to do some really big things and follow in Neil's footsteps to the NFL hopefully one day.
The game hasn't changed as far as, you go out to win a football game. It's all about winning games, but, the pressures are always going to be on the kickers. That's never going to change. That's your job. It's a very, very definite type of job. It's just, it's like I said, there are no gray areas, when you're kicking. You either make it or you miss it. There's nothing in between. A good day is when you make it, a bad day is when you miss it. So that. Most of these guys gone through college, years in the pros, so that's part of being successful or not being successful.
I think Neil was a kind of a natural in a way. He really could do anything. He never played golf, and when he started playing golf, he played it well. He just had that great touch, and he could have played anything in my view. In fact, as kids, like I would have played with Neil under 11, 12s, minors. You just get the ball to him and just wait for things to happen, you know. I mean, there was one, talk about old and young. When we played in Towers Senior, the great Packy McCarthy lived in Clondalkin. He was the greatest footballer never to win in Ireland. He played for Leitrim, but everybody considers him to be the footballer of his generation. But he had a small shop, grocery shop in Clondalkin. And so he joined Towers. It was like Messi coming to play, you know. I mean, it was incredible. Like, you know, playing and Neil, when Neil would, they were just symbiotic. There was a kid and the old veteran, and they, you know, they could just play each other into space. But he had this ability to turn things around very quickly.
To this day, my greatest win was with Towers under 13. There used to be a strong division, a weak division. And we were in the weak division, then we got into the strong division. And we had to go to Ballyfermot to play them at the last game of the season to win. If we win, we won the strong division. We did it, and it was to me it was a great achievement, because we were scared going into Ballyfermot. It was a tough place back then. You know, you had to walk through. You get the bus, you'd walk through the neighborhood, it'd be all screaming at you, you know. But to win there was huge. And I remember going back in the bus, and Tommy can probably vouch to this, that when we got to the top of New Road, Newlands, Knockmeena there, they had the Clondalkin Pipe Band waiting for us. You know, when you're 12 years old, having that, and all the people are out, you know, they all knew about it. It was just a fantastic time.
When you remember his career, you think about the overtime game against the Giants. He misses 3 kicks in overtime that could have in 83 that, you know, so they have a 20-20 tie. And, you know, 83, the Giants were a good football team. So, you know, and then in 84, he tied the record, like a long-standing Cardinal record for most points scored in a season with 117. So it was an up-and-down ride for him throughout his NFL career, and, you know, as it is for a lot of kickers.
My name is Tommy Keogh. I'm from Round Tower GA Club Clondalkin. Corny returned to Clondalkin in April 85 for a short period, for a holiday, and we brought him down to the club for an evening. But he was met by all the members who knew about his history and were looking for autographs. And he also got on the Late Late Show with Gay Byrne during the 2 weeks. So he crammed in a lot of media, and he got a lot of attention for his efforts in the American football.
In fairness, when he came home in the summers, you know, he would turn out for Towers. I got him a couple of games in the club. They tried him and pulled back, and were because that was the safest place to play him. You know, if he could catch and kick. I mean, there was, I think we were playing Blackrock or something, and they tried him out, and I think he caught one ball and he kicked it, and it went the other side of the pitch, you know. It's just incredible. But he fell on a piece of glass. There was a piece of glass on the ground, and he cut his knee, and he said, "Oh my God, I can't, if I go back in the Lance, you know, at the end of the summer, and they check you out for injuries or anything." So I had to bring him into Mensa's, get it stitched up, and he was trying to say, is there any way you can disguise the fact that it's stitched, or, you know, we got him sorted anyway. I think they picked it up, but he didn't get a rap for it, you know.
Now, I also invited him to do a workshop on place kicking with some of our club members, and he did that one Friday evening down in the community centre. Passed on his experience to the Towers place kickers. So I got a thank you letter about 2 weeks later, and some photographs from his American episodes. Dear Tommy, please excuse me writing on this cardboard, but I am in a hurry to get this out to you. I received your letter. Thanks for all your help. The photos were great. I really did enjoy my stay at home this year, and I appreciate all that you personally and the club did for me. I hope that you enjoyed the enclosed information and photographs. If you need any more, just drop me a line. Thanks again, and give my regards to everybody at the club. All the best. Corny O'Donoghue.
It's so different than here. You don't have the connection. I don't have the connections. My connections are still back there.
As we wrap up this podcast, we find Neil O'Donoghue enjoying retirement in sunny Tampa Bay, Florida. The echoes of his powerful kicks still resonate in the NFL's history. In 2020, the football world lost a coaching legend, Jim Hanifin. Neil regrets not reaching out after his Cardinals career, realising the importance of maintaining connections beyond the game. Despite the miles, Neil prioritises family, regularly visiting his brother Coley in Ireland. Thank you to our contributors, Coley O'Donoghue, Jeff Reinbold, Ty Gleeder, Bob Underwood, Michael McQuaid, Tommy Keogh, Bernie Cronin, and Corny himself.